station, please contribute to our discussions through the SMS number that's at the bottom of your screen, which is 22162. And of course, our WhatsApp number as well is up and running. We'd love to hear from you today. Now, on to our next discussion, this being Women's Wednesday. And this time, we're actually bringing something quite unique to the table. Now, most countries exclude domestic workers from protection under the labor laws, leaving domestic workers exposed to harsh conditions. And so today, we actually want to talk more about domestic work. What are some of the things that we don't know and also need to look out for? Here to help us out with that particular discussion is Leah Imaita, who is the co-founder of Jaza Center, which is an employee leasing firm for professional domestic workers. Karibu sana to studio.
Thank you so much, Shiko.
All right, so let's jump into it real quick, Leah. Yeah, what really did drive you to setting up this agency?
I mean, for me, it was actually a personal experience.
Yes.
We had our first baby back in 2012.
Yeah.
And of course, for most mothers, when you have your child, that's when you employ a domestic worker.
Mm-hmm.
So we experienced a lot of challenges with the domestic workers we hired.
Yeah.
I mean, all the way from lack of technical skills,
yes,
communication skills,
mm-hmm,
basically very minimal
yeah,
skills.
mm-hmm,
And you know, as women, we would go to chamas, and
yeah,
I mean, that is the same time also my friends were having kids.
yes, yes.
I mean, what took most of the time was
discussing,
yes,
the drama at home.
the drama at home.
Yeah.
And I mean, I discussed it with my husband. My husband is also my co-founder.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, why not?
Yeah.
And so we did a bit of research.
Yeah.
So what is the biggest challenge? And I mean, the biggest challenge is the expectations we
yeah,
have from the employers,
mm-hmm,
and what exactly the DMs can be. We call them domestic managers.
okay.
What exactly they can
I
be
like
able to
that.
deliver.
Yeah.
So then there is a very huge gap.
Yeah.
So, and that's what brought about the idea,
Mm-hmm,
and of coming up with an employee leasing firm for domestic workers to
yeah,
bridge this huge labor gap
ah,
in the domestic service sector.
okay, so real quick, what does it take to actually set up something like that? How were you able to put it together? Was it you called your friends, your family, refer XYZ people,
Mm-hmm.
and then register a company and then say, okay, fine, we're going to find work for you? Or how does it go?
I mean, I remember when I started it, I was still working, I was still employed. And what I did is I did kind of a demo.
Yeah.
That time OLX was very much used.
Yeah.
And so I did a kind of an advertisement,
Yeah.
and the calls started coming in. And
Really?
yeah,
There's that
exactly.
much demand?
There's huge
Yeah.
demand,
Mm-hmm.
but huge demand specifically for professionals.
Professionals. That's the key word.
That's the keyword.
Okay.
That's the keyword.
And
yes.
what? Tell me, what is the average age bracket that you find domestic workers you work with, rather?
I mean, and this is mostly determined by the market.
Okay.
So the market demands women above the age of the 35.
Really?
I mean, less than, when you look at the statistics, we have around 11.9% of domestic workers below the 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
That means then over 60% is above 35 years. That's the most demanded age group.
It's true. And you see, the thing is, the common notion is that people feel that, you know what, it's best to actually work with someone who's older, because there's that assumption that the younger ones are not that serious. Is that what you get actually from clients?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
when I relax to watching Kondaso smear when they're supposed to be working, jamming with the gardener, are those some of the issues that you get?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the older age group also comes with responsibilities,
Right.
and they've already settled down in life.
Yeah.
But we also have a younger age group which is very keen.
Yeah.
I mean, we have people who come from very poor backgrounds, and for example, they have done very well in their exams, and they
Yes.
need to proceed to college,
Uh-huh.
but they have a challenge paying for their fees. So then they have to find something to save some money and go for their studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do most of them actually tell you, by the way, this is just something temporary? It's not them looking at this long term?
I mean, and that's the problem, because then most of them will not tell you, and that's where, of course, communication skills come in.
Because they don't really value the work.
Exactly.
They're just like, ah, me, I'm on my way,
Exactly.
and I'm going to be going for another course in just a while. So in ya kushikilia.
Exactly. But what, as an agency, we do is we try to educate them and actually sit them down and help them plan and show them, if you're earning this much and you save this much and you want to work for a year or 2 years, there's nothing wrong with that, but then there has to be a plan and a very and a formal communication that I plan to work for this period of time.
So you even encourage them?
We do. We do, yes.
You tell them you can definitely be more if you wanted to be, or you can do X amount work.
Exactly, exactly. And you see, now you look at it in two ways. We have the ones that want to do this as a career, and they have done it very well, and they have supported their lives, and they have taken their kids to school, and this has worked very well for them. But you also encourage the ones who are using this as a stepping stone. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, so long as then again it's also very properly communicated, so that then there is also proper planning on their side, and they're able to achieve their goals within the specified time frame.
Okay. Leah, I really want your opinion on this. This is just a sidebar question. How do you feel about titles that are given to domestic workers like mboch? Is it derogatory in your opinion?
I mean, I feel it's very discriminative. Like I told you, we call them domestic managers, and I think,
and I like that you use domestic managers.
Yes, because they're actually managing your household. And one of the points we miss, especially as employers, is these are very critical people in our lives. If I didn't have my nanny at home, I'll not be able to come here.
It's very true.
Or maybe if you, for example, you have small children, you'll not be able to come to work. So these are very critical people in our lives. They help us go on with our day-to-day and actually build the economy.
It's true. It's true. And you feel that a lot of people, for those who are not in that line of business, don't see it that way.
Exactly.
So you'll be like, "Mazi umboch ananisumbua."
Exactly. Yeah. So it's quite unfortunate.
Does it make you cringe?
It does. It does, and sometimes I even take it very personal. But I mean, it's a process, because we are trying to bring in some kind of structure and some kind of order in terms of formalizing it. So it will take time. So we look forward to that. So
what are the titles we should be referring to them as?
I mean, domestic assistant or domestic managers, for me that is, or home managers. For me that is very appropriate.
That has come out very, very clear. Domestic manager, domestic assistant, and house managers. And house manager. Now also, you know, there's a lot of young people who are also in this line of work, but actually tend to feel very ashamed of their kind of work. What do you have to say about that? Because they'll feel like, okay, you know what, I'm judged.
Exactly. And of course there has been a lot of stigma.
Yes, there's a lot of stigmatization against
for in terms of domestic workers, and even in the way it has been viewed. And what I would like to tell people, this is employment like any other. And then we have to start viewing it like that. And how do we do that? So and that's why I spoke of formalizing it. So then also as Jaza Center, we make sure everyone who goes to work then signs an employment contract. And it's very sad, but statistics say less than 5% of domestic workers in Kenya actually work under formal employment conditions. And we are talking in Nairobi over 2 million domestic workers. So then that is very, very minimal. And so they should also be able to enjoy minimum working conditions like you and me. They should have their day off, at least a day off every week. They should have paid annual leave. They should have their 7 days sick off.
I think you're traumatizing anyone here who actually has someone working at home, because you're like, what? Until paid leave? And
these are things I think we also need to embrace, also to make the sector more attractive. to potential workers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the challenges involved and even some of the horror stories we've had, like in countries like the Middle East and even here, things of unpaid wages, food deprivation, long working hours, for example, even sexual abuse. Do you have real stories to give us? Yeah.
Actually, we do. And the thing about working with people is you can only control so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell people, you know, the most challenging thing is to sell someone.
Yeah.
You know, sell, because I mean, that's the product we have. A person is not like this phone. If you leave it there, it just stays there.
Yeah.
And so for both employers and domestic workers, we have challenges.
Yes.
And like you said, we have even physical abuses there.
Yes.
Or long working hours, or food deprivation.
Yeah, you've got domestic workers who are not being fed.
Yes.
You see cases even in the Middle East where a domestic worker was actually thrown off a balcony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So and I think we need to balance.
Yeah.
And both with the DM employees and the employers.
Yeah.
Because also employers need to sign a form of contract. As an agency, we also have clients sign a contract that stipulates minimum working conditions that any of our employee would be able to work under.
Okay, but tell me, do you have any cases, like what's the worst case scenario you've come across?
We've had even physical abuse from employers, and for us it's both sides. Okay. And we also have cases of theft. But I think the most critical thing, Shiko, is then how do you handle those? I think that's the most critical thing. Yeah. And I think it's a social responsibility for every employer if they have experienced a DM who has stolen or they've done. I mean, some even mistreat children. Yes. So then it's very important that they have the legal due course followed. Yes. Because that's criminal, basically. Okay. So that then this person does not move from here and go to another home and does the same thing. Okay. So that's very critical. Okay, so we'll get into some of those examples in just a minute with you, Leah. But before we get into that, briefly tell us, what kind of training do you actually give your DMs? We have a very I would say intense training, but in 1 month. So we offer them training in every aspect of home management, because they actually graduate with a certificate in proficiency skills in home management. Yes. So we have early childhood development and childcare. Yeah. We have first aid and home safety. Yes. We have housekeeping and laundry. We have communication skills. Yes. We have self-awareness. Self-awareness is where they also get to know themselves and what kind of people they are, and how they can, because everyone has weaknesses, and how they cannot let their weaknesses affect their work when they're at work. We have food production and nutrition. Yes. That's basically cookery. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm so sad that they discontinued home science. I mean, for me, that worked for me. Yeah. I don't know why they got rid of home science. I used to like it. and there's a difference, because you will tell people who actually did home science have actually that touch. Yes. Yeah. So because of the stitching, exactly. You do some crochet. You know how to bake. You know how to bake. Yeah. You know. I mean, you know the general aspects. Yes, but now you're getting people who are fresh, who know nothing. Nothing. Okay, so that's great. I did not know that, you know, DMs can actually get a certificate. Are they paying for the course? Right now we have very good partners who are helping us support them. Yeah. So we are not charging for any upfront fee. Yeah. And the training is actually boarding, so they get to board. Yeah. We have a training center in Runda, and so they have provided for meals and the tuition, basically. Yeah. And then after that, they automatically get employment as professional domestic workers. Okay. Yeah. All right. So just moving on to a different aspect about domestic work. I'm sure you saw the videos trending on social media of domestic workers in Uganda and also here in Kenya, mercilessly beating and kicking a child as young as 10 months old almost to death. Exactly. And, you know, as an advocate for domestic work,
or other workers, do you think that, you know, even in the case of the parents, were they justified to even take matters into their own hands and actually take action on the DMs? Because you did see one father actually beat the DM.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you think? What's your personal opinion? Do you think he should have done that?
You sometimes when it's your own child, I would not blame
Think
him.
twice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then it goes back to how could we have prevented this in the first place?
Yes.
And especially when you're recruiting a DM Shiko, it's very important you have them go through a vetting process.
Right.
Then again, training is very key. The course I was talking about, self-awareness. I mean, we have professional counselors training in this. So then because people who do such, meaning they have a bit of psychological issues.
Yes.
So then when you have a professional counselor interacting with them, that is something they are able to identify even before that person actually goes to work. So it's very critical.
It's very critical.
Yeah.
And even in the case, let's say, for example, Jolly Tumohirwe, who was the nanny now in Uganda, she got 4 years. Some parents actually say, and you even being a mother, that was nothing. It was a slap on the wrist, according to them.
Exactly.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as a parent, speaking as a parent, I also think it was a short sentence.
Really?
I think it could be longer.
Yeah.
I mean, because this could have been worse. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
But then again, probably the authorities looked at what could have been wrong with her.
Yes.
Maybe she had, like I'm saying, psychological issues or so.
Okay.
So then that's maybe led to that sentence.
Okay, so we don't have too much time, so I'm going to ask you just our final 2 questions before you can tell us how we can get your services.
Yes.
Number 1, let's talk about the legal framework real quick. What does the law say about domestic work, even in terms of things as minimum wage? You know, by the way, you'll be very surprised that some of us or most of us don't even know what we should be paying our DMs. Because if I can say, by the way, I can pay 5,000 at the end of the month. Is that even legal? So should some of us even be in jail right now because we've been underpaying our DMs and we didn't think of it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, the last time we had a gazettement in terms of the minimum wages for domestic workers, I think was back in 2015.
Yes.
So I think the minimum you should be paying your DM is around 10,954.
10,000 a month is the bare minimum.
Is the bare minimum.
And if we don't, you know, Dr. Atwoli is going to be here on Y254.
You actually are fined, and it can even have you jailed for even up to 6 months or so.
Wow.
But that was also very contested.
Yes.
Because even as the government fights for minimum wage, what are they doing to make sure that these DMs acquire skills that match the same?
Yes.
So, and I think that's why it has not been very, you know, spoken about, or the government has not been very keen on even arresting or whatever,
following up
exactly. And so as much as they preach or they say then that this has to be the minimum wage, then something has to be done to make sure that even these DMs then have the proper skills to match the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say there's a lot more that needs to be done by the government.
Exactly.
In terms of matching the demand and supply.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Real quick. So as a young person in this line of work watching, what are some of the things that I need to know, even how to protect myself, even as I go forth in this line of work?
I mean, the first thing you have to make sure you acquire skills.
Yes.
And of course, as Jaza Center, then we are giving you an opportunity for free. And so, because when you acquire these skills, then you have an upper hand when you're even negotiating for your terms, employment terms. So then that is very important. Number 2, you need to make sure you sign a contract.
Wow.
Yes. Because then again, that also protects you. And it's also important to note that also protects the employer.
Right.
Because then things like leaving work without notice will not be heard of.
Yes.
Like any other employee, if you want to leave work, you have to give 30 days. Otherwise, then it will be then 1 month pay in lieu of notice. I mean, any other working conditions. That,
what about even, I know I've also experienced this, that even a lot of DMs will tell you that they do not qualify for NSSF, NHIF. Can you talk briefly about that?
How?
Yeah.
It's, if you are in any employment,
yes,
it's the government's mandatory requirement
yes,
that you're actually registered with NHIF or NSSF.
So that your employee must make sure that you're registered.
Yes. So, and as an employer, it's your responsibility to make sure you submit
yes,
the deductions.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. And I think that spells hope, and that means you're building a future
yes,
for DMs across the country. Last but not least, what is you know, coming up in terms of the JAZA agency? What do you have coming up, and how can people, of course, access more information?
I mean, we are now opening up our training to the general public.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a 1-month training, and it's for free. So you can reach us. We have a very active Facebook page,
yes,
JAZA Center Executive Domestic Assistance. You can also call us on 0775 811-114 or 0701 811-114.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really think that was so enlightening this morning. Thank you for taking time to be part of Y in the Morning. That was definitely Leah Imaita, the co-founder of JAZA Center, an employee leasing firm for professional domestic workers. We sure hope that you enjoyed this. Please catch it on YouTube if you will. Keep it Y in the Morning.